Hello everyone. In this lecture, we will talk about how to summarize and print your tables and queries with the use of report feature. We will start by talking about how to create reports and summarize and group the records in your report. You will also learn how to change the appearance of the cells with the use of format options and conditional formatting. And finally, adjusting report layout and sections to make the report ready to be printed will be discussed. In Microsoft Access, report is created to summarize data and create a format which is appropriate to be printed on paper or as a PDF file. Creating a report is very easy. You just need to open the desired table or query and click the report button in the Create tab. By creating a report, 4 new tabs appear in the ribbon that can be used to customize the sections of the report. Each report can have up to 7 sections, including report header, page header, group header, detail, group footer, page footer, and report footer. Report sections are categorized into the 4 levels. The first level includes report header and footer sections. The report header is displayed at the top of the first page, and the report footer is displayed at the bottom of the last page. Report header can be used for adding report title, logo, or date, and report footer can be used to display grand totals or contact info. The second level includes page header and footer sections that are displayed on every page of the report. For example, if a report contains 10 pages, the page header and footer will be displayed on all the 10 pages. We can use page header for showing column headings and page footer for showing page numbers. The third level includes group header and footer sections that are shown if we group our records based on a specific field. For example, if we group the employees based on their nationality or gender, group header and footer show the total number of employees in each group. Finally, the fourth level is the detail section that shows the records of the selected table or query. In this picture, you can see different sections of the report. As you can see, report header is shown on the first page, which is used to show the title of the report, logo, and date. Report footer is on the last page and shows the total number of records. Page header shows the title of the columns and report footer shows page numbers. Finally, we can see the records in the detail section. The next step after creating a report and adding content in different sections is customizing the report. There are 4 views for editing and viewing the report. The first one is print preview that shows the report output, and we can use it to print the report. The second view is the layout view that can be used to edit the report. Since this view shows live data, it's an appropriate view for adjusting the size of the columns. But like the form layout view, it provides less editing feature in comparison with the design view. The third view is called report view. This view is similar to the layout view, but it doesn't provide any editing feature, and users can just use filtering feature to filter the records in the report. And the last view is the design view, which is the best view to edit the report. Design view in report is very similar to the design view of form and provides all the necessary editing features. Similar to the forms, we can modify the appearance of the report, such as color or font, by applying different themes or using the Format tab. By clicking Theme Color of the report, the header color and all the font will be changed. You can find Theme Color in the Design tab. If you want to modify a specific column and change its background color, or font type, click one of the cells of the column, then use the editing features in the Format tab. In order to change color of the rows, you should click on the left edge of the orange border of the rows, then use the editing features in the Format tab. If you want to modify the borders of the cells, click Shape Outline from the Format tab. In order to adjust columns width in a report, click on the desired column, click on the orange border that appears, and drag it. Watch the demos in the next 2 slides.
In this video, we're just going to focus on making a simple report based on a single query. I'm going to open the Orders query, but you can use any table or query that you want. And then in the Create tab, click the Report command, and your report should instantly appear. Now, it's probably not going to look perfect, so at this point you can clean up the layout. And to do this, you'll need to make sure that you're in Layout view. In this report, some of these columns are too wide, so I need to adjust them. When you click on a column, a yellow border will appear, and you can drag the edge to change the width. And I'm adjusting each column just enough to make everything fit on the page. If you make your columns too narrow, then you may cut off some of your data. You can also get rid of any extra fields that you don't need. We probably don't need the zip code in this report, so I'll delete it by pressing the Delete key. And I'll also delete the title and these empty cells. I'm going to scroll through the report now to make sure that everything looks right. And if any elements are outside this dotted line, then they're going to be off the page when you print it. So I'm going to drag this page number over to the left. Now, one thing you can't do within a report is edit records. However, you can sort and filter them. I want to just show the orders from December, so I'll right-click the Pickup Date column, and then go to Date Filters, All Dates in Period, and select December. And I'd also like these dates to be sorted. I'll right-click them again, and choose Sort Oldest to Newest. When you're done changing the layout, you can switch to Report View, and this will let you view it without the grid lines. And finally, we should save this report. I'll call it December Orders. And now we have a report that we can come back to at any time if we want to make changes or print it. Access gives you a lot of flexibility when it comes to formatting a report. You can use any fonts and colors that you want, you can change the theme, and you can even add a header, footer, and company logo. In this example, I'd like to start out by changing the fonts, and I want to put the descriptions in italics and make the product names bold. To do this, we'll need to be in Layout view. First, select the column that you want to change. You can also hold down the Shift key if you want to select multiple columns. Then go to the Format tab and choose the font that you want. I'm going to pick Cambria. Now to make the descriptions italic, I'll select them and click the Italic command. And then I'll select the product type and make it bold. I think I'll go ahead and delete the field headers. Anybody who sees this menu will know what each column is, so they don't really need to be labeled. At this point, we can switch to Print Preview to see how it looks. The new font and italics really help to give it a more distinctive look. Now I'd like to add a page header which will include the address of our bakery. To do this, we'll need to go into Design View, which we haven't looked at yet. Here you can make some of the same types of adjustments you can make in Layout View, but it also lets you do some other things like adding headers and footers. You'll see several bars, and find the one that says Page Header. You'll need to make sure that there's some empty space below it, and if there isn't any space, then you'll need to click on this border and drag it down. Then in the Design tab, find the Controls group, and you'll want to click on this icon, which is the Label command. And then in your page header, click and drag to create a box. You can type whatever you want here, and I'm going to type our bakery's address, phone number, and email address. And if you want, you can also edit the report header, page footer, and report footer in the same way. Let's go back to Print Preview to see how our header looks. I think it looks good, so I'm not going to change anything. Now, if you scroll down, you can see that today's date and the page number are in the page footer. These were automatically added for us because we created this report with the Report Wizard. However, you can also add them manually by going to either Layout View or Design View, and then clicking Page Numbers or Date and Time on the Design tab. Now, one thing that will make this report look much more complete is a company logo. So I'll click the Logo command, and then you can select the picture that you want, and then click OK. Okay, now this may be hard to see, but our logo has been added in the report header, and it has an orange box around it. I'm just going to drag this corner to make it larger, and then I'll move it over to the center of the page. I'll also move the title to the center, and I think this title would look better if it just said Menu. And finally, you can change the overall look of your report by selecting a different theme. A theme is a set of colors and fonts that applies to your entire database, and that means it can affect your other objects as well. If you want, you can even mix and match colors and fonts from different themes. All of these little details that we've added to our report make a big difference, and now it actually looks like a real menu that we can print and give to our customers.
Just like we can use condition of formatting in forms, we can use it in reports. For applying condition of formatting, you should click on the desired column and click the condition of formatting button in the Format tab. Then you should click the New Rule button. In this dialog box, define the condition and select the desired format that you want to get when your condition is correct. Watch condition of formatting demo in the next slide.
I have a report in my Access database that summarizes sales figures for several different regions by fiscal year and quarter. When I look at the report, it's not that easy to pick out values that might need more attention. For example, the Northeast region hasn't been doing so well lately, but it's hard to see a trend or determine how that region compares to others. So I'm going to apply some conditional formatting to this report. I want any numbers below 300,000 to appear in red text, and I want any numbers over 800,000 to appear in green text. I'll switch to Layout View by right-clicking the Document tab and then clicking Layout View. Now I need to select all of the columns that I want to apply this conditional formatting to. I'll do this by clicking a cell in the first column, holding down the Shift key, and then clicking a cell in the last column that I want to select. It doesn't matter on which row I do this because each row on this report contains the same 4 controls. They're just repeated for each row of data. Now with those selected, I click the Format tab, and then in the Control Formatting group, I click Conditional Formatting. Access opens the Conditional Formatting Rules Manager. Here I can add, edit, or delete conditional formatting rules for individual controls or for multiple controls as shown here. I'll click New Rule and then select a rule type. First I'll show you how to check values in the current record. I'll try the other option out later. My first rule is I want to have numbers below 300,000 appear in red text. I'm basing this rule on the actual value in the field, so I'll choose Field Value Is in the first list. In the second list, I'll select Less Than, but there is a full list of comparison options to choose from. And my comparison value is 300,000. You can also type an expression that calculates a value, or click the Build button to open the expression builder. If the field value is less than 300,000, I want the number to appear in red text. So in the font color list, I'll click red. In the preview area, I can see how the text will look when this rule is applied. I can also use non-color related formatting, such as bold, italic, and underline. So with that rule complete, let's see how it looks on the report. I'll click OK twice and then switch to Report View. And now the numbers below 300,000 are much easier to pick out. Looks like the Northeast region was keeping pace with the other regions until fiscal year 2009. Now I'll add my second rule, which is I want to have numbers above 800,000 to appear in green text. I'll switch back to Layout View. I select the 4 controls again. And then on the Format tab, click Conditional Formatting again. In the Rules Manager, I'll click New Rule and set this one up so that if the field value is greater than 800,000, then display the text in green color. And the preview looks good, so I'll go ahead and click OK. Access adds the rule to the list. I can add up to 50 conditional formatting rules for each control or a group of controls. Once a format has been applied to a value, none of the conditions below that one are evaluated. If I want to move a rule up or down in the list, I select it and then use the up and down arrows to move it. I'll click OK and switch to Report View. Now it's easy to see that the West region has been doing really well in the last 2 years. Southeast hasn't been doing too badly either. But the Northeast region definitely needs some more attention. Now let's move to another report and see how to compare across records by using data bars. On this report, it's really hard to see the trend of sales in the Northeast region. I'll add some data bars to improve the readability of this report. Note that this feature is not compatible with the web publishing feature, but I'm working in a standard client database, so I can use it on this report. I'll switch to Layout View and then select one of the cells in the column of numbers. I click Format and Conditional Formatting and New Rule. Now I want to change the rule type to Compare to Other Records. I'll just accept the default values, except that I want a red bar color. And I'll click OK twice and switch to Report View. And now it's easier to follow the trend of the Northeast region's sales.
When you have a column that is filled with the numerical values, you can calculate total of that column with the use of Totals feature. To do this, click on the desired column, then click the Totals button and select the desired function. As you can see in this slide, there are different functions that can be used to calculate the total of the numerical columns. You can calculate summation or average of the column values, count the number of values, find the highest or lowest value, and calculate the standard deviation or the variance of the values. One of the useful features of report is grouping records. With the use of this feature, we can group our records based on 1, 2, or 3 columns. For example, we can group our employees based on their country, then group them based on their state, and finally based on their city. In order to group the records, right-click on the desired field that will be used for grouping the records, then click Group On. After grouping the records, we can use Totals feature to get a summary of each group with the use of functions such as count, summation, or average. For this purpose, click on the desired column and click the Totals button. If you want to delete or modify the groups, you should use the Group Editor. For opening this editor, you should go to the Design tab and click Group and Sort button. Watch the demo in the next slide.
Let's go to the Layout view, and to do that group thing, come up here on the Design tab, go to the Grouping and Totals group, and click on, there you go, Group and Sort. So not only when you click on it does it give you down below in the task pane the option to add a group, but also sort. So to go ahead and group everything by the title here, to eliminate the duplicates, go ahead and click on Add Group, and select that field, Book Title, and boom, does a couple of things. First of all, it takes all the customers that bought that book title and groups them under one title. And then second of all, it sorts it. As you can see, there's the group here by book title, and it sorts with A up at the top, ascendingly. Well, numerically first, so 101, and then the A's, Americans Most Haunted House, and then Basic Medical Billing. There we go. Okay, cool. Now the other way to do this is from the design view. Let's go ahead and close out of here and not save it, and then double click on my report, right click in a blank area, go to the design view, and because I've already opened this up once, the group, sort, and total, it's down below, so I don't have to open it up again, but it's up here on the design tab, grouping and totals, click on it, well, deselect it, click on it to add it back up. Then come down below and click on add a group. Again, the same, book title, click on it, and it adds the book title header, and we got nothing in it. So you have to do an extra click here. You got to take the book title text box field and drag it up into the book title header. So if I come down here, select it, hover over the border till I can see a four-way arrow, click and drag it up into here. Now it's going to go ahead and be the heading for the records down below, or the grouping for those records. You want to go ahead and see that. Let's right click, go to the report view, and there you go. And groups everything together under that title, and then that one, and basic medical billing. So like I said, when it comes to working with groups and you're sorting, well, we'll do sorting here. I'd rather do it in the layout view. So let's go ahead and right click in a blank area, go to the layout view, and we got that down below. Let's go ahead and add a sort. So it's already sorting by its group ascendingly. Of course, you can go ahead and flip that and say you want it Z on top, so it flips it, goes from the T's and starts going up to the beginning of the alphabet as you scroll down. But I'm going to go ahead and undo that and just leave it as is. But after it's group and sorting by the book title, how about within the group? So within the group, down below you can see the hierarchical structure where this is on the out and then that's indented in, meaning that first it groups it and then sorts it. And then if you want to go ahead and do an additional group or sorting, it's only coming after the first one, the book title. So let's go ahead and do an add sort. And it says, what do you want to sort by? Well, within the book title group, after it groups it by book title, let's go ahead and sort by customer name. Now looking at this, we got F begins with the letter F, then G's. We'll roof it after it sorts it ascendingly. We'll be at the bottom because, well, that's the way the alphabet goes, right? Let's go ahead and do it by customer name, and there you go. It sorts it within that customer name field. And you can see down below, we got it grouped by book title. And of course, it's sorting ascendingly, but you don't see that unless you click here. And then it says, okay, in addition to grouping, the book title is going to be sorted ascending. And of course, you get more options here that you can click on. And then underneath that, after it groups it by book title, then you can actually see the sort by customer name within each group where, okay, A is up at the top, or you can go ahead and flip that, or you can go ahead and click on more to get more options. And we'll go over some of these options in a later training video. Want to keep it simple here as far as the introduction to your groups, sorting and filtering them. Now let's do something else. I'm going to go ahead and click on less here to collapse that. And let's add a total for the group here, the books sold. So add 6 plus 5, 119.81. What's the total there? You can add it one of a couple of ways. One way is, well, go ahead and click the box anywhere within that books sold field, and then come up here, click on the Design tab, go back to Grouping and Totals, click on the Totals drop-down arrow, and let's get the sum for each group. Click on that, and hey, there you go. There's the sum total. Now I don't have to do it in my head. So 211 for that group, and then for this group is 44, and then down at the very bottom, let's get to the very bottom, you get the grand total. So 141 is the total for that group, and then 3,203 is the grand total for all the groups. Cool. Now you can go ahead and do it that way, or let's go ahead and select that, and then to get rid of that, let's come up here and click on Totals and deselect Sum, and it removes it from all the groups and the grand total. You can do it that way, or you can come down below if you have the Group, Sort, and Total pane open, and you can do it either for the book title, customer name, it doesn't matter. Just go ahead and click on More, and then where it says with no totals, you can go ahead and click on the drop-down arrow and say, well, where do we want our totals? It's going to be for the books sold, so click on that. Find the books sold field, select it, and then do you want it to add up, or do you want to get the average, the count records? Go ahead and pick one of those functions. Let's do the sum, and let's go ahead and have it show the grand total. Check the box, and let's scroll to the very end. Does it give us the grand total? There we go, but does it give us the totals for each group? No. So let's go ahead and click on More, and it says with the books sold total, let's click on the drop-down arrow, and we click on that and do books sold, and it's showing us as the grand total. Show group, subtotal as percent of grand total, show subtotal and group header. Let's show the subtotal and group footer, and there we go. So now it adds it down below at the footing or at the end of each group. And so like I said, you can do it that way. And if you want to go ahead and get rid of it, you don't have the undo option, well, you got to click more and click on the drop down arrow. It's not going to default it to what you have totaled there, so you have to click on the drop down arrow and say it's books sold, and then go ahead and uncheck. Oh, okay, now we have to do it again. Let's go ahead and click on the drop down arrow and then go back to books sold and uncheck that, and we're back to where we started. Well, before we started adding the totals there. And let's go ahead and close out of the group, sort, and total box, and let's filter. So if I want to do a filter by selection, I just want to see the America's Most Haunted Places. Right click on that, and we can go ahead and equals America's Most Haunted. Select that, and there you go. Then to go ahead and clear that, let's right click on it and go down to clear filter from book title. We're back to where we started. So you can go ahead and right click to get some filtering options, or as you recall in earlier training videos, you can come up here and click on the Home tab and go to the Sort and Filter group. And we don't want to select the label because it doesn't give us the sort or filter options for that. You have to select one of the data fields. Let's do it for the customer name. And then we can go ahead and click on Filter and uncheck all, and then just pick and choose who you want to see by checking them, clicking Okie dokie, and there we go. And of course you can go ahead and use the toggle filter. So if you want to remove the filter, click on it, it removes it, but if you want to go back to it, go ahead and click on it again, and it's now filtered. And then to go ahead and clear this completely, just come up here and click on the Advanced drop-down arrow and clear all filters.
Another way to create a report is using Wizard. As you know, Wizard can facilitate the process of making Microsoft Access objects by showing a step-by-step instruction. After clicking the Report Wizard, in the first step, you should select the table and the fields that you want to have in your report. In the next step, you can use some of the fields to group your records. To do this, select the desired field and add it as the group header. In this step, you can select the fields that you want to use to sort your records. Also, if you click Summary Options button, you can use one of the available functions to calculate the subtotal of each group. In this window, you should select the layout type and the orientation of your report. Also, tick the Adjust checkbox if you want to adjust the report to be printed on only one page. Finally, type a name for your report and click Finish. Watch Report Wizard demo in the next slide.
In this example, I'd like to create a menu that we can print for our bakery that shows a list of our products and their prices. We're going to need to create a report that uses multiple tables, and the easiest way to do that is by using the Report Wizard. First, we'll go to the Create tab, and in the Reports group, select Report Wizard. We'll start by choosing the fields that we want in our report. If you click the drop-down arrow, you'll see a list of all of the tables and queries in your database. And we're going to add fields from several different tables. From the Categories table, we're going to need the Product Types field, and you can either double-click it or click the right arrow button to add it. Next, we'll choose the Products table, and here we'll add the product name and description. From the Sales Unit table, we'll add the product name, which in this case is just dozen, half dozen, or single. And finally, from the Menu Items table, we'll need the price. So all of these fields are going to be placed into our report. Now click Next. Since we're using multiple tables, we need to decide how we want the tables to be organized on the page. If we had just used a single table or query, then it would have skipped this step. In this case, we want it to be organized by the Categories table. And to the right, you can see a kind of outline which shows where each field will go. Now we'll go on to the next step. Here you can change the way that the records are grouped by adding a grouping level. Much of the time you won't need to do anything in this step, but if you have a very specific idea of how you want the report to be organized, then you can add a grouping level. For example, if we wanted the products to be grouped into dozen, half dozen, and single units, then we would add sales unit and then use the arrows to change the priority. But we don't really want that here, so I'll remove this and then click Next. Here we can sort the records by up to 4 fields. I'm going to sort by price, and I'll also change this to descending, so it will start with the highest price. And then click Next. There are a few different layout options that you can choose from. I'm going to select Block because it'll tend to keep things on the same line. I'm going to leave the orientation as Portrait, and I'll also leave the Auto Adjust option checked, so we won't have to do quite as much adjusting at the end. And in the final step, you can type in a name. I'm going to call it Menu Report. And here you can choose whether you want it to open in Print Preview or Design View, but this won't actually affect the report. When you click Finish, it will create the report. And you won't be able to go back into the wizard to edit your report, but you can always go to Layout View to make any adjustments that you want.
If you don't want to use Report Generator or Report Wizard, you can create a report from the scratch using the Blank Report feature. After creating a blank report, in order to add the desired fields to your report, go to the Design view and click Add Existing Fields from the Design tab. Then from the Field List pane, double-click on the desired fields. By adding each field, its value and column header will be added into the Details section of the report. If you run your report in this way, the column titles will be repeated for each record, and definitely it's not what you want. In order to solve this issue, cut and paste the field title and put it in the page header section. Finally, adjust the size of the detail part section and make it smaller. The demo in the next slide shows how you can create a report from the scratch using a blank report.
Let's click on 3B Employers Table, click on Create, click on Blank Report, and notice that we have a field list box that opens up. If yours doesn't show anything, then there will be a link where you can click on it to show the current tables in the current database. And then using the plus sign, you can expand the field list. So select 3B Employers and right-click Employer Name and say Add Field to View. That's one way to add it. You see you get a column here. Click and drag Contact First Name, Contact Last Name, and Phone Number. And then close the field list box, close the navigation pane, and now we can see what our report looks like at the moment. Now, on the Design tab of the Report Layout tool, go to Themes and search for Equity. These are alphabetical, so if you just hover over them, well, CQ, there it is, Equity. If you hover over them, you'll see which theme it is. Right-click, Apply Theme only to this object. And now while on the Design tab, there's a header and footer group, and let's click on Date and Time. And you can turn off the date, turn it on, turn off the time, or turn it on. Let's include the date and the time. Say OK, and notice it puts it up here in the header. Now let's add a title by going to the header footer group and clicking on title, and then last name, first name, 3B, employer, phone list. Okay. Now select it so that you have the yellow box around it. Go to the Home tab. Let's change the font to 14. And notice the extra space here, so I'm going to get the double arrows, double click, and resize that. Now let's fix our headings, so let's click click in the employer name and then shift click in phone. Let's make this bold, and if you have another color on there, you can select automatic color. And then let's go over here to text formatting and let's center those headings. Now click any one of the employer name boxes and click the Home tab if you're not there. Select Ascending, and that orders the report in ascending alphabetical order by employee name. Then notice the layout selector here. If you have something else selected, this is the wrong layout selector, so you'll want to click inside the body of the report and then drag it down and to the right and try and center it between the two margins.
When you want to delete a column from your report, since each column has a title in the header section and content in the details section, don't forget to delete both by pressing the delete key. Like we can use controls in forms, we can use them to add more functionality to our reports. Controls in report are not as useful as controls in forms, but the controls can be used to create calculated columns or add chart or picture. In order to add the controls, you should go to the design view, click on the report section that you want to add the control in, and add the desired control. In this example, we added a text box called employment status to show professional word if the employment duration is greater than 5 years and non-professional if it is less than 5 years. To do this, after adding the text box, we use control source section of the data tab in the property sheet to type our expression. The demo in the next slide provides another example of report controls. The demo shows how you can add a hyperlink control to your report.
Now, why would you want to add a hyperlink to your report? Well, if your report is referencing other things, like other files that you want to be able to pull up when you're looking at the numbers within the report, or maybe another web page that you want to pull up, I want to show you how you can insert that as a hyperlink, so that way you don't have to keep track of it all, as it were, when you pull up this report and go, oh fudge. Now let's see, I need to open up that file because it talks about some of the things in this report. Go to that website so I can compare it to this report. Instead, just do it once to insert them as hyperlinks, like up here at the top in the report header. You can actually choose where you want to insert them, but for me, the best is in the report header section. So to insert your hyperlinks to these other references, as it were, other files, documents, websites, just go ahead and right click and let's go to the design view. And to insert your hyperlinks, you need to choose a section that you want to insert them in by clicking on that section's bar, like for the report header, so I can insert them here. Then come up here on the Design tab, go to the Controls group, click on Controls, and you're looking for the World. Go ahead and click on Link, and then it says OK. By default, it wants to look on your computer if you have files, documents, other databases, or even an image that you want to be able to add as a link. Then when you click on the link, in this case, it'll pull up the book's image. So if it's not in the exercises folder, then click on the drop down arrow and you can search other folders or start from the desktop. And then go ahead and double click whatever's on the desktop to get inside of that and then go, oh, okay, let's do the book's image. Double click, adds it in the upper left hand corner. So hover over the border of it so we can click and drag and move it over here. Let's do it again, only this time. Let's see, Controls, Link. Let's come down here and add a website address, www.dreamforce.us. I like that. And let's go ahead and click off. And if you'd like, you can add, well, here's the text to display versus the actual address. So if you just want the text up here to say, let's get rid of that, Dreamforce, then when they click on it, it'll actually take them to the website. You can do that. And you can actually add a screen tip to it, so when they hover over the link, a little pop-up says, hey, this is my website, or this will give you more details about such and such. So click on screen tip and say, my website, so please stay a while in your visit. We enjoy ya. Go ahead and click okie dokie, then click OK, and there you go. Dreamforce. Let me hover over the border to click and drag and move it to the right. Okay, now to go ahead and get it to work, or we can click on it and it actually takes us to the image or the website. The only view that this will work in, obviously not the design view because you click in here and it does nothing, is, let me right click on the tab here, the report view. Because in the layout view, it's just a layout, you're just clicking and dragging to move it around. Can't click on it to open up that link. But hey, look at that, when you hover over it, the pop-up comes up, my website, and so please stay a while in your visit. Let's go ahead and right click. Can't do it in the print preview because what you see there, well, it's going to come out of your printer. You can click to zoom out, click to zoom in, right click, and the one view that it does work, report view. So let's go ahead and click on the image. It says, hey, this location may not be safe. A location on my computer that I didn't identify as something safe that I can fix later on, but hey, I trust it. It's my computer. Yes. There's the image. Oh, that's nice. Close out. How about, let me click off, can't see it, the website. Hover over it, gives you the pop-up. Click on it. It's my website. Very nice. Buy more products. And then, of course, to get rid of your hyperlinks, right-click, go to the design view. With it selected, hit the delete key, and it's gone. Click on the border, delete, and we're back to where we started.
If you want to add current date or time to your report, click on the report header or page header and click the date and time button from the design tab. For adding page number, you should follow a similar process. Click on the report header or page header and click the page number button. After adjusting all the settings of your report, it's ready to be printed. For printing your report, adjust the page margin and orientation, then click the print button. If you don't want to print your report on paper, you can also print it as a PDF file. Watch the demo in the next slide to know more about how you can print your report.
Once you've finished creating a report, you can choose to either print it or export it so it can be viewed outside of Access. Make sure that you're in Print Preview, and here you have several different options for adjusting the report. The first thing you should do is click the Size command and make sure that you have the correct paper size selected. I'd like to add wider margins so that we can make notes if we need to. But you can see that now some of the data is cut off. We can use the page navigation arrows at the bottom to go to the next page, and we can see that the missing data is showing up here. We can fix this by switching to landscape orientation. Now all of the fields fit on the same page. And you could also fix it by going back to Layout View and making the fields narrower so they all fit. I'm going to click the Zoom drop-down arrow and select Fit to Window so we can see how the report looks on the page. It looks like we have plenty of room for notes, and if we wanted to fine-tune the margins, then we could just click Page Setup. And finally, if you want to save ink, then you can click Print Data Only to get rid of the background colors. But I'm going to leave this unchecked because I like the formatting that we have. When you have everything the way you want it, you can click the Print command, and then set your printer settings, and click OK. Sometimes you may prefer to export a report instead of printing it. This is useful if you want to email it to someone or post it on the web. Access lets you save it as an Excel spreadsheet, a text file, a PDF or XPS file, or email attachment, and you can click More to save it as a rich text file or HTML file. In this case, I'm going to choose PDF because that's going to keep the formatting that I've applied to my report. I'm just going to save this to my Documents library, and you can modify the file name if you want, and then where it says Save as Type, select PDF. Then click Publish, and your report will be saved to your Documents library or whichever folder you chose. Then you can close this window. When you're done, you can close Print Preview, and it will go back to the last view that you were in.
One of the usages of report is for creating labels. With the use of this feature, we can select standard label sizes and generate label by using the data of a couple of fields. Then we can print the labels, cut them, and put them on the postal boxes. For creating a label, first select the table or the query that you want to create your label using its data and click the Labels button in the Create tab. As the first step, Access shows you a list of standard label sizes and you should select the desired label size. In the next window, you should select the font name, size, and text color of your labels. In this step, you should select the fields that you want to have in your label. This step is for selecting a field to sort the labels based on. For example, you can sort the labels based on first name, last name, or city. Finally, type a name for your report label and click Finish to generate the labels. The demo in the next slide shows you a practical example of how to create labels using the wizard.
Select the object that we want to create labels for, and it's going to be the report's customer info. Come up here, click on the Create tab, go to the Reports group, click on Labels. Opens up the label wizard where it's going to ask us a bunch of questions based upon our answers. Hopefully we get the right label that we're looking for. So first off, who manufactured your labels? Is it Avery or somebody else? Go ahead and select that. And then up above, on that box of labels, it should have a product number that you can go ahead and select, the dimensions, and then, well, the total number of labels across or columns. So if that's it, go ahead and click Next, or if you want to do your own custom thing, click on it, and then click on New, and you can type in the numbers down below for the different sizes or spacing in between other labels. But we'll keep it simple and close out of here and go with the templates, and then click Next. And then for the font name, gives you a preview. Do you want an Arial? Do you want the font weight light, italics, underline, change the color, the font size, how it appears. I'm going to leave it as is and click Next. And then what would you like on your mailing label? Here's the available fields. We want the customer name, double click, adds it over here in the prototype label. Hit the Enter key because below the customer name, we want the address, double click, hit Enter, then the city, and then do comma space, and hey, there's the state. It pulled it in, even though it wasn't showing in the report. Cool. Double click the state, hit the space bar, then double click the zip. Looks good. And if you want to add something additional to what you see here, you can go ahead and type in, well, the name of your company, whatever you want to do. I'm just going to go ahead and hit the backspace key here and just keep the data fields coming in without any extemporaneous text on my part. Click Next. And then which fields would you like to sort by? The customer name. There we go. Double click to add it over to the right. Click Next. And then what name do you want to give your report? Well, it's based upon the customer's table, the report that is, and so it's labels, the prefix, and then the prefix TBL customers, or you can just say, look, it's really the RPT, customer info report. In any case, it's your flavor. And then down below, what do you want to do? Do you want to see the labels as they will print out in the print preview, or do you want to make some design changes? Well, let's go ahead and leave it as is and click Finish, and in the print preview, hey, there we go. Is it sorted by name? Let's check it out. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, the song checks out with what I see here. So it's sorted alphabetically. Great. Now, before you go ahead and come up here and click on the print button, I recommend that you do a trial print. What I do is I print this on a blank sheet of paper, and then I hold that up in front or behind a sheet of labels and put that up in front of a light. So when the light shines through, if I see the outline of a label that fits everything just so within it, then we're good. But if the outline of the label kind of cuts it off here, then I need to make some tweaks here. And a few ways you can go about doing that. One is to right-click and go to the design view. And you're working with your grid here because we got a lot of space between the label here and the next label. So if you want to go ahead and shrink it up, hover over the top section bar, the page footer, until you can see arrows pointing up and down. Click and drag that up. Well, you don't have to do it all the way, but I'm exaggerating to show you how it's really going to look. You can actually select the fields, right middle resizing handle, and pull those in. And then you don't want the extra space vertically between, well, this label and the one over here. So let's pull it in, make it tighter. And then let's go ahead and right click and go to the print preview. And ooh, that's looking nice and snuggly. Now you can do it that way, or in the print preview, come up on the page layout tab and go to the page setup. And there you go. You can mess with your margins for the top, bottom, left, right for the entire page here. But more specifically, let's focus on the columns because we've got 3 across and then the row spacing 0. And then column spacing, ooh, that's pretty tight. So in between the columns, it's getting kind of snuggly. And then the column size with the width, maybe we can shrink it up here and do 2 inches. And then the column height, go ahead and make your changes there. And then click Okie dokie, and you see it brings it in further. So whatever works best for you, you got some options when it comes to getting your labels just so. And then when you're ready, come up here and click on Print. It's a go.
This lecture was the last lecture of Microsoft Access, and as I said before, I'll just upload an optional lecture for you to learn about VBA. We will start web development part of the course from next week. If you have any question about Microsoft Access or the assignment, don't hesitate to ask your questions on the course forum.